81. When we ought to introduce a statement of facts, and when we ought not, requires judicious consideration. For we ought to make no such statement, either if the matter is notorious, or if the circumstances are free from doubt, or if the adversary has related them, unless indeed we wish to confute his statement. And whenever we do make a statement of facts, let us not insist too eagerly upon points which may create suspicion and ill feeling and make against us, but let us extenuate such points as much as possible, lest that should happen, which, whenever it occurs, Carassius thinks is done through treachery, not through folly, namely, that we damage our own cause, for it concerns the fortune of the whole cause, whether the case is stated with caution or otherwise, because the statement of the case is the foundation of all that the rest of the speech. What follows is that the matter in question be laid down, when we must settle what is the point that comes under dispute. Then the chief grounds of the cause are to be laid down conjunctively, so as to weaken your adversary's supports, and to strengthen your own, for there is in causes but one method for that part of your speech which is often efficacy, to prove your arguments, and that needs both confirmation and refutation. But because what is alleged on the other side cannot be refuted unless you confirm your own statements, and your own statements cannot be confirmed unless you refute the allegations on the opposite side, these matters are in consequence united both by their nature, by their object, and by their mode of treatment. The whole speech is then generally brought to a conclusion by some amplification on the different points, or by exciting or mollifying the judge in every particular, not only in the former parts of the speech, but more especially towards the conclusion, is to be apted to excite as much as possible the feelings of the judges, and to incline them in our favor. Nor does there now appear to be any reason, indeed, why we should make a distinct head of those precepts which are given concerning sorcery or panegyrical speeches, for most of them are common to all kinds of oratory. Yet to speak in favor of any important matter or against it seems to me to belong only to the most dignified character, for it is the part of a wise man to deliver his opinion on momentous affairs, and that of a man of integrity and eloquence to be able to provide for others by his prudence, to confirm by his authority, and to persuade by his language. 82. Speeches are to be made in the Senate with less display, for it is an assembly of wise men, and opportunity is to be left for many others to speak. All suspicion, too, of ostentation of ability is to be avoided. A speech to the people, on the other hand, requires all the force, weight, and various colorings of eloquence. For persuading, then, nothing is more desirable than worth. For he who thinks that expediency is more desirable does not consider what the counselor chiefly wishes, but what he prefers upon occasion to follow. And there is no man, especially in so noble a state as this, who does not think that worth ought chiefly to be regarded. But expediency commonly prevails, there being a concealed fear that even worth cannot be supported if expediency be disregarded. But the difference between the opinion of men lies either in this question, which of two things is of the greater utility, or, if that point is agreed, it is disputed whether honor or expediency ought rather to be consulted. As these seem often to oppose each other, he who is an advocate for expediency will enumerate the benefits of peace, of plenty, of power, of riches, of settled revenues, of troops in garrison, and of other things, the enjoyment of which we estimate by their utility, and he will specify the disadvantages of a contrary state of things. He who exhorts his audience to regard honor will collect examples from our ancestors which may be imitated with glory, though attended with danger. He will expatiate on immortal fame among posterity. He will maintain that advantage arises from the observance of honor, and that it is always united with worth. But what is possible or impossible and what is necessary or unnecessary are questions of the greatest moment in regard to both. For all debate is at an end if it is understood that a thing is impossible or if any necessity for it appears, and he who shows what the case is when others have overlooked it sees farthest of all. But for giving counsel in civil affairs, the chief qualification is a knowledge of the Constitution, and to speak on such matters as so to be approved on acquaintance with the manners of the people is required. And as the frequently vary, the fashion of speaking must often be varied. And although the power of eloquence is mostly the same, yet as the highest dignity is in the people, as the concerns of the republic are of the utmost importance, and as the commotions of the multitude are of extraordinary violence, a more grand and imposing manner of addressing them seems necessary to be adopted. And the greatest part of a speech is to be devoted to the excitement of the feelings, either by exhortation or the commemoration of some illustrious action, or by moving the people to hope, or to fear, or to ambition, or desire, or glory, and often also to dissuade them from temerity, from rage, from ardent expectation, from injustice, from envy, from cruelty.